5.
The following is a conversation with Steve, aka Day25, on Twitter. Steve is the owner of a gold Bored Ape, an influential shit poster, and the founder of NFTs, a Web3 sporting league. This is the Ape and Bird NFT show. To support it, please tag your favorite brand, as we currently have no sponsors. And now, dear friends, here's Day25. Steve, I went for a different intro.
That?
I've been listening.
Surprise.
I've been listening too much to Lex Friedman. I love his openings. I watch back generally the first 3 to 5 minutes of our show before we post, and my boring welcome to episode 18 or whatever number we're up to. So I just wanted to mix it up.
I thought the intro was more what is it, CSU, the crimes unit one?
Yeah.
What was that?
CSI, was it? Yeah.
CSI or whatever it is. But yeah, that was interesting. I was not expecting.
I didn't want to tell you.
We are looking for sponsors for this podcast. So crypto exchanges, whatever. We need some money. It's NFT winter here. How are you doing? That was a much more You've got me pumped up for today's show, even though we don't have much to talk about.
Well, I'm sort of a little bit giddy, I think, today, just out of, I don't know, delusional, giddy, something like that. I have been really, really enjoying random fun memes and videos online. So I think my brain has got to that point where I've scrolled through too much of doom and gloom, and all I want is memes and funny videos now. So send me your best TikTok videos, please. But feeling good.
You know how old I am? I have never downloaded TikTok, and I probably never will.
Look at that line in the sand. The funny thing is you're on the cutting edge of like this new technology, building out a project in Web3. And very, very interesting. But we do have a guest coming on in about 25 minutes. We are going to welcome Dave Haslop. I hope I got his last name right, the pronunciation. Dave is the founder of Australian Crypto Convention, which is going to be on the Gold Coast in 2 weekends' time. I better get the dates right. I believe it's the 17th and 18th.
You'll be there, right? You're going to be talking?
I will be there. So we're going to speak to Dave a little bit later in the show about what to expect from Oz Crypto Con. So looking forward to having Dave on. We were just speaking before we went to air, Stephen, before I threw that little intro in there for you that was that you weren't expecting. It has been a relatively slow news week, but yeah. I would say that Solana and Yoots, and you did pronounce it correctly last week because I actually listened.
You listened.
I listened to
the proof.
Yeah, Frank de Gods. Yep. So that was a good episode. Young guy, only 23 years old.
Yep. Seems to know his way around startup space, VCs, and NFTs. So it was a really good interview.
Yeah, I thought so. And it's just interesting, right? We talk about the attention economy with NFTs, and we are seeing, personally, I don't think this is the end of NFTs on Ethereum by a long stretch, but we are now seeing this narrative play out with Solana NFTs. Yoots and the Gods are not the only ones popping up. If you go onto OpenSea's rankings now, you will see a really, really strong mix of Solana NFTs. Steve, how many Solana NFTs do you have?
This is going to come as a huge surprise to you, but this week I continue to not own any. So that is 0. What about you? Do you have any Solana NFTs?
I do not, but I am going to say within the next week, 2 weeks maximum, I will. I feel like I actually have nothing against Solana NFTs. I have NFTs on. I have NFTs on Tezos. I have them on Flow. And Solana, I've got to say, has been on my list forever. And it's just been one of those things where I've just never got around to it. And I got to say, a lot of my friends in Proof, there's a guy on Twitter, he's a fellow Australian. He gave me the heads up about Yoots about 2 weeks ago. His name's Dollar. I think his Twitter handle is knows$, at knows$. He gave me the heads up on Yoots, said you probably should apply. I actually put it on my list of things to do that day. I said, I'm going to do this, right? And then I got to the part where you need to put your Solana wallet in. And I went,
that was
crap.
the first part.
Now
I also went to that site.
Now I've got to set up my wallet. So, if we've got any Solana listeners out there, they've probably turned the show off already. But I missed the boat. But funny enough, I don't know if you just saw that tweet a few minutes ago before we went on air, but Ben Simpson, a friend of mine, runs the Collective Shift, was on a crypto panel with Chris Judd, the ex-AFL footballer, very iconic footballer. And someone tagged Juddy in, and apparently Juddy applied for Yoots.
And didn't get in.
And
he wasn't well known enough.
He was snubbed. Yoots snubbed Juddy. I mean, if you want to talk about controversy in the NFT space, it's hard to find a sort of a different topic that you could think that there was a bigger controversy about.
Well, look, he's no Wayne Rooney, who was not snubbed. But it is interesting. I think we talked about this last week. I wonder how many people actually did apply, if Wayne Rooney did apply, if it was a marketing tactic. But yeah, if they had known the Australian market and seen Juddy applying, that would have been huge if he got accepted. But I did reply to that tweet, and I let Juddy know that, look, if he applies for a NF Team's player draft pick, he might just get one. So he's always got a backup plan.
Well, I reckon that we could potentially get Juddy on the show on a future episode. What do you think? It seems like he's been red-pilled on crypto in general. Surely NFTs would be up his alley too.
So until today, I had no idea he was in the space. So I did follow him just then as well. So I'm going to be Twitter stalking his profile and see what he has been talking about. I'm assuming he's an investor in the space maybe, or is just interested like a lot of AFL, NRL, and other sporting guys in Australia. So I think out of all these different segments, sports stars or sports players seem to be most interested. Maybe it's because they've got a lot of downtime after training and games, so they can get red-pilled. But yeah, it's a really interesting one. And we've seen just so many people enter the space from that sports side.
I had a few conversations last year with some current day AFL footballers that were put onto me through various friends. And I was pretty excited to have the chats in general. There were a few good decent chats, but the majority were, tell me what the next Bored Ape is.
Yes.
I was like, okay, all right.
I did use, and we can use this for this podcast as well, not financial advice, as my DMs at the time, probably maybe 8 to 12 months ago, were filled with AFL players, NRL players, NBL players, asking very similar questions. And my first one was, I don't know for sure. This is not financial advice. This is what I think. So yeah, they were asking what's next. And like a lot of us, they were very interested in seeing things skyrocket and go 100x overnight. But there have been a few that are still in the space. I know a lot did leave. And we still have a lot of NF team owners that are sports stars. So that's good. And once players come out, we might try to do something with a lot of those guys.
Sounds good to me. So let's while we're on Yoots, let's stay on Yoots. They have done reasonably well. I think they're still floating around 5x their mint price. The last time I had a look.
What was the mint price? Because I can see a floor price of 154 SOL at the moment.
Geez, I have a feeling it was around 50 SOL, but I could be wrong.
So 3x?
I mean, honestly, I saw something earlier today on a report that said that they're floating around 5x their mint price. So work backwards.
Okay, maybe it was 15 or something like that. Well, no, then it would have been 30. So 30 times 5 is 150. My maths should check out there.
1,500.
Yeah. So we can say that. But the amazing thing to me, and we'll talk about Yoots in a second, is 24-hour trading volume. Someone released Yoots Yacht Club on the Ethereum blockchain. It is actually doing more turnover than the Yoots mint, which is just crazy. It just shows this space, and whatever group, and I've mentioned this group many times, whatever group is just there going, all right, what two things can we add together? What's the current meta of this week? And what are we just going to push out as a free mint or something and get our 50 to 100 to 200 ETH in royalties? And this week it was Yoots Yacht Club, which now has a floor price of 0.06 ETH. In the last 24 hours has done 732 ETH in volume just on OpenSea. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yes. So let's talk about just Solana in general. Like we obviously mentioned it off the top, but where do you sort of see? I saw a couple of tweets before actually around just sort of the emergence of Solana and some people sort of jumping in going, well, layer twos, for Ethereum is going to sort of solve everything and But do you see Solana being a force in the coming years? I know that you're a big sort of proponent of Ethereum in general, but what's your general vibe on Solana? Where are we at with Solana, and where are we going?
For me, it's, as you know, I had been a Bitcoin maxi forever. After NFTs, I really dove into ETH. So this track record suggests that eventually Sol, I will get into that and then learn more about it and feel that it has some value from an outside perspective, because I have not looked into it much. Sol has sort of been the VC funded chain. And we saw that absolutely massive raise in the price. I think it got up to, I don't know if it was 250 US or 500 US dollars a token at one stage during the whole bull run. And everyone was like, oh, Sol, it's going to overtake Ethereum. Like Ethereum's going to overtake Bitcoin and so on. I just feel that they do have an advantage in the fact at the moment that they've got low transaction fees, quicker, more transaction, all the sort of issues that we talked about last week that Ethereum is slowly solving. So later on, we're going to talk about the merge. So there's probably another 2 to 3 years before the purge and all these other upgrades to the Ethereum ecosystem. So if Sol can capture enough people into their ecosystem in the next 2 to 3 years, they might have a chance. But unless they keep building and creating new technology on top of Sol, eventually Ethereum's going to not only have everything they've already had, but they're going to have taken all the best bits from all these other layer twos anyway. So the question in a couple of years will be, what advantage does Sol have over Ethereum? I am a double maxi now, so not really a maxi. I feel we will have the two chains of Bitcoin and Ethereum. All these other ones have enough of an ecosystem where they will last. How much value keeps being added, I'm not so sure. But yeah, at the moment, Sol is definitely, from an NFT perspective, going nuts. The funny thing is, Yoots isn't even the top Sol project on OpenSea. That's Abracadabra, which is children's type drawings. It looks really cool. Again, something I haven't looked much into.
Yeah,
but
I think the thing about that too is most Sol actions still happening on Magic Eden too. So the OpenSea stats, I mean, it's definitely interesting. I mean, you and I both have been around for long enough in this space that we can sort of remember the days of it's pretty much just ETH, right, with a sprinkle of Polygon in there. So it is interesting to see Solana so prominent. But I haven't looked at Magic Eden, but I would imagine that Magic Eden's numbers are a little bit different. Because I've got to say, I was actually looking at a Solana monkey business NFT project, which I believe was the first sort of, I don't know whether it's right to say they're CryptoPunks. Someone's probably going to say Degen Academy Apes as well, but I'm pretty sure Solana monkey business was before them. I quite like the look of the Solana monkey business. So I was looking at those the other day on OpenSea, but someone quickly corrected me and said, you better look on Magic Eden because that's where majority are listed.
Yeah. Okay. So what are your thoughts on Sol NFTs going forward? Give me a 1 and a 5 year time frame on where you think they'll be.
Well, I think they've got pretty strong network effects. I know that we're still, we say it's so cliche to say that we're still early, but I do feel like just slowly but surely the narrative of Solana NFTs is moving from the Costco or Walmart of NFTs to a little bit more legitimate, and having a few key projects like the Gods, like Solana Monkey Business, etc. It does add a little bit of credibility. I mean, even Frank being on Proof, right? Like that's a pretty strong,
huge,
pretty strong showing for Solana. And look, I always enjoy listening to Anatoly, one of the co-founders of Solana. They're obviously experimenting with the phone, which I think is really important. I see a world where, I think Solana is going to be around for the long term, is my gut feel. I mean, I could be completely wrong. So where we are in a year's time, I have no idea. I actually know of a few Aussies that are building DeFi products on Solana as well. So
in the space, yeah.
I hold Sol in terms of just the coin. I just don't hold any NFTs currently. But like I said off the top, I'm about to change that pretty soon. And I think, too, I'm pretty excited just by Magic Eden really as well. I mean, they're hilarious on social, but also just the fact that it's
Aussie company.
Another Aussie company, right? So, love to sort of get Magic Eden involved with upcoming NFT Fest, and already having a few conversations there. So we'll sort of, I see a world where Solana exists. And I also think, it just, like I said, it has pretty strong network effects already. So those things are hard to sort of just get rid of, really, unless you do something completely disastrous. But we are getting Dave on the show soon, Steve, in about 10 minutes. Geez. So let's sort of jump into a few of the other topics we're going to talk about. Let's segue to the NBA. They have inked a deal overnight with Sorare around fantasy sports. Have you had a chance to dig into that at all?
Yes and no. So just back to the last one, Yoots also raised $7 million from investors for their Dust token, or the company outside of that. So there is a lot of money going into that. Now, onto Sorare. For those who don't know what Sorare is, it's sort of your daily fantasy with cards of players. They started with soccer or football. And I remember it was way back early of last year that I signed up and you got free packs. The way they do it is really interesting with onboarding. You get a free pack that's not actually an NFT, but it's the exact same as the NFT, and you can use it in the game. You just can't buy and sell it. So that onboards a lot of people that might not end up buying an NFT, but at least they understand the whole ecosystem. So what we heard, I think it was yesterday it came out, that first they started with football. They recently signed the MLB, which is baseball. And now yesterday we heard the NBA is on board as well. Really interesting, because NBA, you thought they might have had a license specifically with Top Shot, but it seems they can license their brand elsewhere. And I really thought Top Shot was going to pretty much copy the Sorare playbook and have, if you had a Top Shot, you would also have that player stats and be able to play a fantasy type game, but apparently not. So really interesting. This will bring, Sorare is a huge company in the space, probably not talked about all that much, but it's going to bring a lot more eyes into the space, a lot more players, and I think this will do really, really well.
Absolutely. I agree with all of those things. I'm signing up for this particular thing. I find it personally quite interesting. I'm a big NBA fan. It was my number one sport as a kid, and probably still is to a degree, although I find it hard to consume 82 games of regular season, but once the playoffs come along. So no, I think it's really good. And Some other sports news, Steve, we saw throughout the last couple of days too. I've got an article here from Crypto Slate talking about the sports NFT market doubled from 1.3 billion to 2.6 billion in 2022, and is expected to grow annually of 36.3% to reach
very specific.
I know. I'm reading this. It's funny. I love all these studies, right? Like the sort of studies show that, you know, in the next 10 years, there'll be $1 gazillion spent on the metaverse. And it's like, how do you come up with these figures? But ultimately they're saying, you know, within 10 years, they think, you know, the sports NFT industry will be approaching the $42 billion mark, which is really interesting and probably a good thing for you and I as sports people and as NFT advocates. So my sort of take on it is that, you know, I've even given a few talks in the last couple of weeks to various marketing groups and just different people all over the place. And I think the appetite, even though we're still in a bear market, the appetite to learn and think about what the experiment that their organization or sporting club can do is actually getting stronger from what I saw in 2021, which is interesting because obviously you and I know 2021, you know, you would have sold anything out, right? No matter what you were putting down. But I do think the conversation, at least with a lot of people internally now, it's not so much these things are a fad. It's sort of like, where do we fit in and how do we not look silly, right? Which is always what a question a brand or an organization or a staff member that's representing that brand. They are defensive by nature, which is completely understandable. They're trying to defend the brand. They don't want to look silly. So I think, you know, it's a bullish sign for me. But I also think that, you know, I'm hoping that a few new use cases come up that we weren't thinking about. I keep thinking about this often. You know, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I'm scratching my head at the moment around, you know, we've seen the utility, we've seen the collectability. We know that provenance is important. That's the reason we're sort of all bullish on this technology, but surely there's use cases that we're not thinking of yet. I don't know if you've 100%. got any, you know, sort of thoughts on that.
Yeah, so let's start with the article. These are always fairly silly when they come up with the numbers. They don't tell you what the numbers are based on. I'm guessing it's revenue, so turnover. And of course, Top Shot had hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion itself in turnover. So we're also starting from a very low base last year. We probably had Top Shot and maybe we had AO Metaverse and a few others dipping their toes in. Of course, 2022, we've seen more join. So you start from a low base. Of course, you're going to get 100, 200%, 500% increases in turnover. But then they usually extrapolate from there and say, well, in 10 years, we're at whatever the number was that you said. But we both know that it's just going to keep growing. And on to what else could be done. So far, we've seen a lot of, and we've slowly seen the ticketing. So we mentioned that last week with Ticket Tech and Flow, or Ticketmaster, whoever they are in America. Memorabilia, I think, is going to be a big one. The artifact style thing with having your chip on your jersey. Hi, David. How are you? We've got David here.
Yep.
Sorry, Dave. We're just finishing off a sports, what we think is going to happen with sports NFTs in the future. Have you ever bought an NFT? We can start there, probably.
We should actually introduce Dave. So we've just, if you're watching online, you've probably seen Dave Haslop pop up onto the screen, the founder of Australian Crypto Convention, as we mentioned off the top. Dave, can you just say hello to everyone? We just want to get your sound levels, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. How you going? Can
everyone
hear me okay?
I think you're
turn it up a little bit.
Yeah, you're a little bit on the softer side there.
Is that any better?
Yep, I think we're getting there.
What about that? Is that better?
We might just get you to speak up when you're talking, Dave. I know that might be a bit of a pain in the ass, but we want people to hear you, obviously. So, yes, we welcome Dave. Do you like Dave or David better?
Dave's fine, mate.
Perfect. So we've got Dave Haslop here, as I mentioned, founder of the Australian Crypto Convention, which is coming up on the Gold Coast on the 17th and 18th of September. A big event there. So we're going to have a bit of a chat to Dave of what to expect there. I've seen on the agenda, I know I'll be involved personally as well. There's plenty of NFT and metaverse content mixed in with broader conversations around the entire crypto ecosystem. Dave, as a founder and an operator of running events too, it is a ton of work. So I empathize with you and thank you for taking the time to join us today, because it's a massive time commitment. It's almost a 24/7 all consuming exercise. So if you could just give our audience just a little bit of an overview of your background, sort of how long you've been in crypto and Web3, and what's planned for the Oz CryptoCon.
Yeah, sure, mate. Well, basically, I've been in crypto space now since end of 2016, start of 2017, and I dipped my toes in and learned a little bit about it, and sort of dived down that rabbit hole like everyone else has, and through that, I sort of became obsessed pretty early on, and I was able to learn things quite fast, and then I was able to then start teaching other people too. So, and then from there grew the Facebook group Crypto Den, which we've now got 55,000 members, or just under 55,000 members, and pretty active group in Australia and America as well. We've got a lot of Americans in the group. And from there developed education courses and online communities to sort of help support the growth or the rapid growth of the crypto space, and try to educate people the best we can the right way with the what we know to be the correct knowledge, rather than sending people out to YouTube and out to the wolves to essentially just get scraps of information here, there, left, right, and center, and not really know what's correct and what's total garbage, really. So that was the reason behind putting together our education content, and through there I've obviously been pretty embedded in the community, and decided to start a in real life event, and the Australian Crypto Convention was born from there.
Lovely. So 17th and 18th of September on the Gold Coast. How many people sort of are you expecting at this one? It's obviously the inaugural event. It's harder to run these things in a bear market. I'm sure when you probably had the idea, things were on the charts, just trending a little bit nicer than what they are today. But how are you tracking, and what's the interest been like just in general in this market?
Surprisingly really good, to be honest. I mean, as you said, when we started planning this, it was peak bull run. Bitcoin hadn't even hit 60 grand yet. We were still in the middle of it, and the idea behind it came up, and we started planning it. And as you know, Greg, planning something like this isn't easy, and it takes a lot of time. And we've been in the planning phase for well over 12 months now, and we really only hit our stride sort of March, April this year to really start pushing this out there. So obviously I was a bit nervous as well, because we could see then that the market had taken quite a downturn, and even in my own online communities, the interactions really started slowing down, and across the board everything was sort of slowing down. So I was getting a bit nervous, and we also had coronavirus last year too, so that was also something that we had to really consider in our planning and our dates. So and to be honest, it was a little bit slow to start with, and that made me quite nervous as well. And I'm thinking, in a bear market, can we pull this off? Can we do this? And it turns out we can. So, I mean, don't touch wood, everyone. It hasn't happened yet, but we've had a huge turnout. We've got so many speakers and so many sponsors and exhibitors on board, and the tickets are literally just walking out the door right now. So, we should hit our target of at least 3,000 attendees. Our major target was 5,000. So I don't think we'll hit the 5,000 mark. Maybe not, but we should hit at a minimum our 3,000 target, which is really good.
No, that's amazing, and I think for many people that are sort of based in Melbourne, like I am, Steve's in New South Wales, an excuse to take a trip up to the Gold Coast is always a good thing too, right? So looking forward to a big weekend of action. But Steve, any questions from your end before I dig into the agenda a little bit?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask about. I saw that Michael Saylor will be talking. What other guests do you have speaking, and what sort of different segments are they going to be talking about? Is it Bitcoin heavy? Is it DeFi, NFT, all that sort of stuff?
Well, the idea was to try to encompass sort of every angle of cryptocurrency, really. So, I mean, I'm not sure how many blockchain conferences you guys have been to, but usually you go there and they're quite stale and, for lack of a better term, they can be quite boring and very heavily focused on blockchain in particular.
Yeah,
What
very
I wanted to do was
technical
create
too.
an environment where there's no singular focus. So for myself personally, I'm a huge Bitcoin advocate. I wouldn't go calling myself a hardcore maxi, but I'm definitely more Bitcoin than altcoins.
Me too.
Yep, good man. But what I want to cover off is everything to do with crypto. So that's NFTs, that's metaverse, altcoins, bitcoins, DeFi, you name it. We want to have a section of the convention that's dedicated to that stream. So, we've got workshops in DeFi, workshops in trading, NFTs, huge metaverse companies coming in, and NFT companies coming on board too. So the idea is to showcase people that cryptocurrency or blockchain world is more than just Bitcoin. It's a huge use case. It's a huge utility, and it's a shift in technology that we all know is coming, and probably 50% or more of the population still can't get their head around. So
I would say 80-90%.
yeah, I was being conservative.
No, that's excellent. I know, Dave. I will be talking on the Saturday. I've come up with a topic called culture currency, how NFTs are driving a hip hop like evolution. And I've got to say, maybe I was swayed a little bit by some recent series I've been watching on Netflix. But I've done a couple of talks for brand marketers in the last month, and I wanted to mix this one up. And similar to what you said, Dave, just around sort of people that are in the space, I think we're going to, out of those 3,000 odd that you're going to get attending, my gut feel is, you're going to have a lot of people that are already in the space. So I want to take it back and talk about almost how we got here to this moment. We obviously know Steve, you've probably seen as got a gold Bored Ape, which he minted, which is amazing. But just sort of riding that wave and seeing, how NFTs caught fire, particularly in 2021. I'm sort of going to be taking it back to the roots a little bit, even going back as far as sort of like 2017 with CryptoPunks, etc. But I also want to talk about, just how I sort of approach NFT. I don't want to give too much away around the talk, but approaching NFT collecting in sort of what I call 3 buckets. And I'm not going to give away those 3 buckets today because you'll have to come to Oz Crypto Convention to find out. But I'm excited by this talk because I'm going to push myself a little bit. I'm not going to roll out the same one that I did a few weeks ago, but I do see there's a fair bit of other NFT content on the board. I think we've got Nick Abrams coming, Dave. We've lost Dave.
I think we've lost Dave. And yeah, my other question that you might know while we hopefully get Dave back is, will it be live streamed? Because I won't be able to make it there. I am going to the Gold Coast in November, but I won't be able to make it there for this conference. So will it be live streamed? Will I be able to buy some sort of live stream ticket or anything?
No, not this time.
Will it be recorded?
Every single session is being recorded. So we've got over 90 sessions booked at the moment. Every single one will be recorded and edited into the different segments and uploaded online. So, you'll be able to watch it after the fact. But, we did consider live streaming it, but then, you don't get the people actually attending, which, I mean, that's the whole purpose, is you want people to go there and see that this is real life use case technology. The idea was to take it offline and bring it into the community in person. So, that's why we decided not to live stream it. The infrastructure is there. So, every single stage has a camera and a microphone, and every speaker will be mic'd up, and it's all there. But we're live streaming for Michael Saylor and I think one other speaker that couldn't make it in person. But like I said, it kind of defeats the purpose of having an in-person event. I think
100%. Like I've only ever been to the one conference, and as an introvert, it was fantastic. Even though I normally will shy away from talking to people, the amount of contacts and networking you get at those real live events is just priceless. Oh, we've lost him again.
We've lost Dave. Steve, one for you here. Dave, I should mention too. You've got the Bitcoin baseball team, the Perth Heat, involved with your event. Talk us through a little bit around the Perth Heat and their involvement.
Sorry, guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
But it does say something went wrong during recording. If you can refresh the page, maybe do a hard refresh.
So, Steve, today is going very smoothly in terms of our
first guest.
non-editing part of this show. So, if you're still listening, thank you for hanging with us at the moment. But no, Steve, there's a couple of other sessions that I'm looking forward to. I think I mentioned him earlier. But Ben Simpson from Collective Shift. Ben's been in crypto for about, I think, since 2016, roughly. I spent a bit of time with Ben in the US. Really, really good guy. Very, very knowledgeable. Makes me sort of question where I am in my own life. I think he's like 23 years old. He's a CEO just dominating. He's being flown all the way around the world, sitting on various panels. So shout out to Ben. We will see Ben there. So I'm looking forward to Ben's session. Also looking forward to Nick Abrams. I think we're potentially going to get him on the show one day too, Steve. Nick on LinkedIn is always providing pretty good commentary. I don't think I've met Nick before, so shout out to Nick. But Dave, just before you dropped off there, I was just going to ask you, some of the sessions. Obviously, you're going to be moderating the session with Michael Saylor, so I can imagine that's going to be a true key highlight for you personally. But are there any other sessions on your agenda from Saturday or Sunday that sort of stick out, jump off the page for you?
You nailed one just a second ago. Nick Abraham is someone I'm really looking forward to listening to and meeting in person too. So I think Nick's mission with bringing Web3 into modern business is extremely important, and the way businesses can utilize NFTs in a practical method is important too. So very, very much looking forward to hearing him speak and getting to meet him in person. For me personally, I'd like to really listen to. So we've got a couple of workshops going as well, and there's a guy named Travis Dolbing who he's going to be doing a DeFi workshop. That's of interest to me. So I'm a trader. I haven't dived really deep into DeFi and all that. I've obviously dipped my toes in it, and I've had a bit of a play at every aspect of crypto. But trading is where most of my skill set is, and I'd really like to dive more into the DeFi side of things as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing his workshop. He's doing a bit of a masterclass for us, which will be excellent. Lee Travers from Binance Australia. Again, I've watched a few of his keynotes online. Very, very knowledgeable man. He's on a mission himself to really impact this space, which I really appreciate and endorse as much as I possibly can. Anyone that's trying to grow this space the right way and avoid, I suppose, any kind of negative publicity for cryptocurrency has my tick of approval, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him speak. So there's so many speakers that are coming, and so many people that are going to be adding so much value to the event. It's going to be hard to, across 4 different theaters, pick who you can listen to at any one time, really. So, I mean, including the workshop zone, we've got 5 different theaters, and we've got speakers running non-stop throughout the entire event. So,
now I've got the agenda up here, and I actually see Fred from Finder is going to be involved too. I've met Fred before. He's been involved in a couple of blockchain weeks. He is super knowledgeable and one of the most entertaining speakers that you'll listen to. So I'm sure if you're heading to Oz Crypto Convention, I personally would recommend getting along to Fred's session, which I believe looks like it's at 2:15 on the Sunday. So looking forward to Fred in particular.
Yeah, me too. Definitely. He was one of our latest additions to the agenda as well. So, it took some time to get him on board, but we got him, and I'm actually really excited to meet him as well. So, and of course, myself and you just mentioned before Ben Simpson from Collective Shift. We're going to be doing a panel with Danielle from She's Blockchain Savvy and Darren Rogan on education in Web3 as well. So. If you want to learn more, around the education side of things as well, so you can come and see us too. And I think we're on at 2 p.m. on a Sunday, I think.
Lovely. So in terms of some of the NFT content, given that most of our audience are definitely crypto enthusiasts, but they certainly fall more on the NFT side. So I was just having a quick look through, and I've got people like Daniel Monge and James Rowdy, two guys I know from Melbourne. They're presenting. I know Lisa Tay's presenting. We mentioned Nick Abrams before. We've also got AFL representation from Dave Elliott, who I know, and Jordan Fogarty. So they'll obviously be talking about the recent AFL Mint project and probably where that's heading. And you mentioned Darren Rogan from Queensland. I believe Darren's going to be doing a talk on NFTs as well. So the NFT lunatics out there, like Steve and I, it does look like there's a fair bit on offer. And as I mentioned, I'll be doing one as well. Oh, I should mention Joshua too, NFT for noobs. Josh is doing a workshop as well. So plenty on the cards. 2 jam-packed days, Dave, and I could imagine you've got some events lined up for the evening as well.
We do, yeah. So we've got the VIP after party, and we've hired out the rooftop bar at the casino for that. And then we've got the general admission after party as well. So that runs sort of simultaneously and sort of goes later into the night. And that's in Surfers Paradise, which is, if you've ever been to Surfers Paradise, you'll know it's a really good location for a party. And then on the Sunday, Ben Simpson and I are hosting a bit of a Sunday session as well to sort of wind down from the weekend and have a couple of drinks. That's my moment where I get to relax then.
Wonderful. You'll be looking forward to that. Now, Steve, you've heard rooftop party, Gold Coast, Surfers Paradise. Are you sure we can't twist your arm?
I want to be there.
To get you there.
I will have to be at the next one.
No, it's shaping up to be a wonderful event, Dave, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us today to give a little bit of insight into the listeners to what to expect. You did mention that the sessions will be recorded. You may not have made this decision yet, but if people cannot get along to the event, is there an option where they can? Is going to be free content, purchase content post event, or what's sort of the thought process there for your recordings?
We'll upload the content post event. There'll be no charge or anything like that. So,
wonderful. All right.
Yeah. And just fine.
So we have just locked in next year's venue and date. So we'll be
Where is it?
Information very, very soon. And I think you're going to be very happy about it, guys. So we'll.
I'm guessing Sydney. The last question. For more info, where's the website and the Twitter handle?
ozcryptocon.com, and the Twitter handle is @ozcryptocon.
Wonderful.
Okay, fantastic.
Well,
Best
thanks.
of luck.
Thanks again for joining us, Dave. I will see you in a week and a half in person on the Gold Coast, and good luck with the event.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you later.
Greg. And Steve, see you soon, mate. See you.
Yep. See you soon.
See you guys.
All right. Well,
Bye.
we're going to wrap up. Thanks to Dave Haslop from Oz Crypto Convention for joining us today. Steve, as we sort of finish up today, we were going to just talk about, we do have obviously the upcoming merge, price predictions, post merge. We've seen a pretty up and down week this week. We've seen sort of drops of 8 to 10%, and then claw it back. What are your thoughts? And are you nervous with the merge? I mean, this is a big thing, right? We have NFTs. We just sort of trusting that it goes well. Am I right?
Oh, not really trusting. They've tested this on multiple networks. So as you know, there's a couple of different test networks for Ethereum. So it's passed all the tests there. So personally, I feel it should be fairly smooth. And if any little issues do pop up, they'll be able to sort them out fairly quickly. But yeah, there's always a risk with anything here. And if it does absolutely stuff up, I can't even imagine the sort of repercussions. Like, yeah, it's very strange to think about the potential downside. I'm sure there is a backup plan of reverting to proof of work if it does stuff up. And yeah, but look, personally, I feel it's going to go fine. I think it going fine is already priced in if we're going to talk about pricing. So I would assume as long as it works fine, everything seems to be working, there'll be a little bit of a price jump and then people will start taking profits. So again, not financial advice. I think ETH is about 1650 US at the moment. I can see it maybe jumping up to 1800 and then 2 days later it's back to where we are, if not down. But then you have to take into consideration the everything else, stocks and Bitcoin and everything else in the world. So pure guess. I'm going to do what I always do in these situations. I do this better than anyone. Nothing. Just sit back and do nothing. And just I don't care about short term. I care about this working, us moving to proof of stake, and then being able to build from there. What about you? What is your prediction? What do you think will happen? And what do you think will happen if it does massively stuff up?
Well, what I think will happen is whatever I'm about to say, the opposite will happen. Mm-hmm. I tweeted out the other night the Jim Carrey, like, it's alive gif of him from Ace Ventura when he's in the car yelling like, it's alive. And I tweeted that out when ETH had pumped about 8 or 9%. And I thought this is the stupidest thing ever to tweet this, but I really wanted to tweet it. Pumped. And I woke up the next morning, ETH had dropped by 9%. So yeah, sorry about that. Look, yeah, we're sitting at about 1640 USD right now. I think we'll see maybe a little bit more movement upwards going into the 15th next week for the merge. But similar to you, I probably see a little bit more of a retracement the back half of September. But what do I know? Absolutely nothing. And as we always say on this show, this is not financial advice. This show is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So, yeah, similar sentiment to you, Steve. And to be honest, since, June, when I sort of experienced the wheels falling off everywhere with the portfolio, and we've gone into that in previous episodes, I have, on the most part, been sitting on the sidelines, not doing much. But I got to say, it's a good position in the sense of I'm a little bit more on stables. I've got a little bit of ETH sitting there, and I've got sort of the NFTs that I wouldn't say I'm going to ride or die with, but I would say 75% of my current holdings, I'm probably comfortable with holding on to for the longer term. And maybe that's not the wisest decision if it all goes to zero, but at least I'll have some little pixelated hours to look at, right? So, look, I'm not too sort of worried in the short term, but I do think we'll see maybe a little bit of a pump in the next week, and then a retracement back half of September.
Yeah, my other concern is that people really don't understand what this part of the merge does. So they're going to assume when they start transacting on the new proof of stake, they're going to be like, why is it still costing the same? Why is it as slow as ever? This has done nothing. So that's a worry, because people just won't understand that wasn't part of what's happening here. But yeah, it's going to be, once again, an interesting thing to watch. We'll sit back and enjoy the ride. And yeah, I think that's it for this week. Thanks to Dave for coming on. He didn't mention that he really wanted to see your talk, but that's on my list to see once they are online. I wish I really do. It sounds like a really good convention. Really wish I could get to it. But I will be obviously at the next one if it's in Sydney. But yeah, so
Well,
if you're near the Gold Coast, get there on the 17th and 18th of September and have fun up there.
yeah, and if you are there, I will be there. So please reach out to me on Twitter at Greg Oakford. But we will maybe have a little bit of alpha for our listeners next week, Steve, around NFT Fest. So we are getting incredibly close to securing a venue and also having some dates there. So for our NFT nuts, that event is going to be right up your wheelhouse. But I would encourage you to check out Oz Crypto Convention too, because who doesn't want to spend more time in this space, right?
Correct. And I'll make sure I'm at NFT Fest.
I hope so. We as one of our headliners in March at Blockchain Week, we've got to have you back. But look, thank you again to our listeners today. We had some we had some issues in the middle part of the show, getting Dave on. That wasn't the smoothest transition, and we had him.
Hopefully, it recorded and we can hear him.
Yes. So thanks for sticking with us. I feel like we are getting a little bit more professional and better, but we've still got some work to do.
I'm not.
But thank you for joining us on episode 18. We will be back next week to break it all down in the world of NFTs, and we will see you then.
See yous.